Hey guys, so what I'm gonna do for today is I'm gonna film a what I eat in a day as a vegetarian teenager. So I'm just gonna film everything that I eat and how I made it. So for breakfast, I decided I was gonna make a smoothie bowl. So I got out my strawberries, blueberries, blackberries from the freezer. I don't really measure my fruit when I'm making them. I just kind of see how much looks about right. The blackberries were really frozen, so I didn't get very many, but that's okay. Because then I decided to add a banana for a creamier texture. I would usually add some almond milk, but I'm actually out of that. So I decided I was going to add some kale. I normally don't add a lot because I don't like having too many leafy greens in my smoothie. I'm still trying to work that into my diet. And now I'm just going to blend it up after I add some water. I decided to add some more water because it was still really chunky. And then it got to a really smooth texture, so I put it in my bowl, smoothed it out. Now I'm adding some nuts, and I have a little accident, but I managed to clean it up. Yeah, I just scoop it back in the bowl because I washed off the counter before I made this, so it was fine. For protein, I add some Cheerios Oat Crunch. I would normally add granola, but we're out, so I just decided Oat Crunch sounded pretty similar to granola. Then I added some peanut butter for even more protein because I'm going to gymnastics after this. I added about a big spoonful, so maybe a tablespoon and a half. And then I decided to drizzle honey on top just for some extra sweetness. This is what it looks like. It's a little bit messy and it would have looked a lot better if I hadn't spilled it. And then I'm taking a vitamin. I just take these one a days. And then for snack, I decided to bring 2 of my oatmeal cookies and some cherries. I also got a strawberry acai refresher from Starbucks. Next, I'm going to be making some tortilla chips with a fruit salsa. It was one of my first times making this, so chopping the tortilla into chip shapes kind of took a couple of tries, but I used about 3 tortillas, maybe four, 3.5, somewhere around there. Now I'm going to just put them on a tray and lightly spray them with like a Pam cooking oil. And then I'm going to sprinkle about half a tablespoon of sugar over them, but most of the sugar doesn't like stay on the chips. It kind of goes all over the pan, so that's okay. Then I'm going to sprinkle them with cinnamon, and the ones that I sprinkled with cinnamon tasted better than the ones that I didn't, so I would recommend doing that. And then I'm going to chop my fruit into little pieces that I can scoop onto my tortilla chip. The fruits I used was apple, banana, and grape, which I'd recommend also adding like strawberry and kiwi, but I just didn't have any of those today. You want to make sure that you chop the fruit up into small enough pieces that you can use it like on a chip. I kind of struggled with that. My pieces weren't quite small, and I especially struggled with cutting the grapes, as you can see. It was really hard to do, small enough. I'm just going to put it all in a bowl. And then next, we're going to add 2 teaspoons of sugar and then stir it up. And I would also recommend adding a squeeze of fresh lemon juice, which I just ran out of lemons, and so I didn't have any, but it really would have helped to cut the sweetness because it was very sweet. But it was good because I kind of wanted something sweet, but it was definitely not a savory thing at all. Now you're going to put them in the oven for 8 minutes. The ones on the bottom shelf took a little less than 8 minutes, around 7.5, and the ones on the top took like 8.5, 9 minutes, somewhere around there. You just want them to be crispy to the touch and a little bit browned. Yeah, now I'm just dipping it in. Didn't do too well, but I figured out how to get more fruit on it on my next tries. And then I had a Subway sandwich, which was just a veggie delight, and then some baked Lay's. Next, I'm gonna make some ramen. So I just poach an egg, just water and vinegar, heat it up, put the egg in after you stir the water, and then cover it up and let it cook. I'm gonna make some peas and carrots, and there's my egg. And then I also am cutting up a mushroom, which I'm gonna cook a little bit. So now I'm just sauteing the mushroom in olive oil. Not too much work. This is a pretty low effort meal. I should have also added some tofu in there for some protein, but I just was really lazy, not feeling it today. It didn't take too long to cook, only a couple minutes, and then I just poured it out into a paper towel. I'm cooking my ramen in the microwave for 5 minutes, covered in water. There's all my stuff I'm gonna add. So I added salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, thyme, a little bit of cayenne pepper, and then I decided to add some seasoned salt. I'm adding a lot of seasonings because I couldn't use the seasoning packet because it had chicken in it. So I really don't want this to be bland because sometimes when I make ramens by myself, they get really, really bland because there's just not enough seasoning in it. This one was pretty good and actually had a little bit of like a kick to it, spice-wise. I'm also going to individually season my egg, peas and carrots, and mushroom before I put them in, just to really give that extra flavor. And this was the best ramen I've made, so I would recommend doing this step and not just putting them in with no seasoning. The mushrooms I had to put in my hand because the paper towel was like getting all its little bits on it, so yeah, I should have put it on a plate or in a bowl, but it is what it is. This ramen was actually really good, and I ended up sprinkling a little no salt seasoning just for that extra flavor. It was like really good ramen. And my poached egg was actually cooked pretty well, surprisingly. I thought it was overcooked and the yolk was going to be hard, so just had to share that. Thank you guys for watching that. If you want to see more content like that, more recipes, I realized I didn't include the recipe for the oatmeal cookies. It's just 3 ingredients. It's a cup of oats, 2 bananas, and then some chocolate chips. And then I also added some coconut, so I guess 4, but that's not technically in the recipe. And then you just bake it in the oven at 350 degrees until it's like to your desired solid texture. I don't usually cook mine according to like a recipe or anything, just until it holds together enough to be like a cookie. But it's never going to be really hard and crispy unless you cook it for a very long time. But yeah, that's it. Feel free to subscribe, like, whatever, you want. And I'll see you in the next video.